Let's go. Yo, what up, man? That beat goes so hard. Yo, what's up? It's cracking with you. It's your boy, Sports Dad in the building. Let me take off the glasses so you can see me. What's good? Hey, listen, Thursday, another beautiful week. We're at the tail end, and hopefully we're going to finish strong. I know I am. And so I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. Listen, so tonight is the live session. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to hit these three things, and we're going to get out of here. If you got questions, you know what to do. Put it in the chat. If you got comments, put it in the chat, because once again, if we can do it, it is your responsibility to make sure that the chat is lit. We have yet to do that. So, but I think we're going to talk about some topics that everybody can relate to, especially as parents, coaches, and players. So we're going to talk about it all tonight. And but as the season, the football season's getting ready to end, coming to a close or whatnot, just wishing everybody health and prosperity. And I know it's actually been it's been a great situation for us, considering what we've been through this year. We are some strong people, and guess what? We are better together. And I'm so glad that we had the experiences of watching our kids go out there and compete. Thank you, coaches. Thank you to all the the parents, and thank you to the players. And thank you to the colleges or whatnot. It's been a trying year, but guess what? We're making significant strides, and we are getting through this pandemic, as they would say. It's better than nothing. Some of us didn't think that we were going to actually have a season, but we actually made it through, and so I'm excited about that. And so with that being said, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And oh yeah, yes sir. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe, okay? And also share this information. And speaking of the channel, guess what, guys? We made it to 300. And guess what? Not only 300, I think I'm like in 340s or something like that. Just when I started to, just when I was thinking about giving up, I saw growth, man. And this is just so awesome. That's definitely encouraging to me, because once again, I am working for you. And if you want to support the channel financially, you know what to do. You just submit the information, or just submit the donation to the Cash App below, and we're going to keep it rocking and rolling. But thank you, though. We made it to 300 subscribers. So now guess what? The next milestone, we're going to get to 5. That's the next milestone, 500. I'm pushing for 500 subscribers, and I believe that we can do it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Bam, let me get my ticker going, the recruiting process, because I know you're anxious to talk about these topics. And on stay with, and on next week, I definitely have a special guest that is going to be on the channel too. And I'll let you know who that is later in the week, as I normally do my little video. But if you're in the chat, go ahead and say something to me if you like. But if you want to be shy tonight, I totally understand. I accept all types of human beings in the building tonight, so it don't even matter. But I see my boy Brian Weathersby. You know what I'm saying? He's in the building. And I appreciate your support, fam. He's always there. He's always consistent and supporting and hungry for that information, because guess what? He got a young beast on his hands, y'all. He got a young beast on his hands. BJ Weathersby, and dude is in the 9th grade, and he's playing varsity, going crazy, right? Going crazy. But let's just jump right into it. So the first point I wanted to talk about was, can parents make it hard on the coaches? Can parents make it hard on the coaches? So if I have some parents in the chat tonight, I want to keep saying in the building. That's just the church in me or whatever. But I keep wanting to say, if I got some parents in the building tonight, Ryan said it again. If I got some parents in the chat, and I'm pretty sure that all of you guys can relate to this question. Can parents make it hard on the coaches? Can parents make it hard on the coaches? And I'm pretty sure that this isn't the first time that you heard this. Got my green tea going on, but I'm pretty sure that's not the first time that you heard that. But to answer the question, in my personal opinion, from my experience, yes, we can. All right. Yes, we can. Let's make sure. Let me get the Twitter feed going too, because we are definitely on Twitter. So make sure I get that going before I answer this question. But yes, we can make it hard on the parents, guys. We can definitely make it hard on the parents, and if trust me, sorry, on the coaches, and I'm getting ready to tell you how. I'm getting ready to tell you how we can do that. Watch this. Watch this really fast. Let me do this real quick. All right. I just want to make sure that we're not missing anybody and everybody have an opportunity to tap in. All right. And athletes. All right. Here we go. All right. So how can we make it hard on the coaches, right? How can we make it hard on the coaches? Well, here's the real deal. Here's the real deal. The reason why we can make it hard on the coaches sometimes is because, and keep in mind that, once again, I've interviewed multiple coaches on this channel, and I'm not done yet. Actually, in fact, I'm just getting started. But we can make it hard on the coaches when we put certain things into our child's head. Okay. What do you mean by that? The reason why I say that, he said, give us the facts. Oh yeah, no doubt. We put certain things in their head, right? And then what happens is that, when they go to practice, they're carrying that with them. When they go interact with the team, they're carrying that with them. And guess what? So now the coach has to deal with that and try to reprogram them. Now, so what type of things do we put in their head? A lot of times as players, right? They don't see what we see. They don't see, sometimes, well, they should, but for some odd reason, they don't see what we see. And so what ended up happening is that, if they're not getting the attention that they want from the coaches, if they're not getting certain amount of playing time from the coaches and things like that, then what the first thing that they'll do is they'll come home, right? And they'll come home venting to their trusted source. And who's their trusted source? Hopefully it's mom and dad, right? Mom and dad, brother and sister, right? Or whatever, but they are venting to their trusted source. And which is normal. And that's very, very normal. And once again, if you want to comment on this, if you got questions, if you want me to bring you on to this live session, I will, and you will be in the picture with me. But they come home to the trusted source and they start venting, and they vent those concerns. Hey, I'm not getting the touches that I want. I'm not. This person is playing over me. They're getting more time than me. That the coach is showing this person more attention, right? And to be honest, they may not be tripping about their assessment on that, or what they observe, or what they're experiencing. They may be true. Now, hopefully in a good program, the coach will provide the why as to, why, why they're receiving this type of attention, or why they may not be getting what they want. Especially in the event that the player said something, which 9 times out of 10 they don't, because at this age they just don't speak up for themselves. So one thing, that's a good point to hit. As parents, though, let's coach up our kids to make sure that they speak up for themselves, because the coaches, they're not going to really talk to you after a while. Especially in the bigger programs, they're not really going to talk to you. And then when they get to the college level, they're definitely not talking to you. Maybe come out and talk to you for the recruitment process, and things like that, if they really want your kid. But teach your kid how to speak up for himself. Teach your child how to speak up for himself. and state their concerns. But normally they don't at this age. And so they come home and they vent to their trusted source. And then us as parents, we have a choice to be either, blatantly honest, or we have a choice to, be, honest and truthful and side with our kid. Sometimes, and what happens in the midst of that, a whole lot of emotions and things like that is going on. And us as parents, we're experiencing a lot, right? So what do you mean? So when we don't like to see our kids hurt. We don't like to see our kids frustrated. We don't like to see our kids, not happy. I know I don't, so I'm just speaking for me, right? But we don't like to see our kids like that. And so typically, what that does for us as parents, that strike a chord in us, like, and it makes us think that our kid is being, not being treated fairly, right? And so, and I know I'm telling the truth. I know I'm telling the truth because I've been there. And I think that if you have a kid in competitive sports, you're going to experience this and this thought is going to cross your mind, but you're going to have to coach yourself through it. So what we do as parents, we, try to talk our kids up. Some give, decent advice, basically saying, well, hey, maybe it'll change. Talk to the coach or whatnot. And that's good. That's good, sound advice. Give them an opportunity. But sometimes as parents, we end up siding with them too, and even if their perception, even if their opinion is not right, sometimes we side with them. And when we side with them, this is how we make it hard on the coaches, right? This is how we make it hard on the coaches. Oh, this player's getting more time than me, Dad, and I don't understand why. Yeah, he really shouldn't be getting that much, that time over you. That's ridiculous. And what is it doing? And what does that child hear? He hears exactly what he just stated, right? So, and I don't understand. I mean, you're the best player on the team. And I know I'm in somebody's backyard because, and even people that are not in, when they watch it later, they're going to be like, wow, because it happens. Like you're probably the best player on the team anyways. And so what ended up happening is that player carried that back to the program. And guess what? Now that's in the mind of the player. If they're not going to say anything, now it's in their mind and that's going to display in their attitude. And it's like, and now there goes the chemistry of the team. And if the coach notice it, of course, now the coach has to speak on that. And then now the coach has to reprogram them, right? Reprogram them and address those things and, hey, dig into it. Like, what's going on, man? What's wrong with you? And some kids won't say anything. And so hopefully a coach will be able to sift that out and just be able to still talk to it or whatever. But teach your kids to speak up for themselves and communicate. But that's how we can make it hard on the coaches. So hopefully during these next few questions, we could actually turn that around a little bit, because I'm not saying that, we as parents shouldn't hold the coaches accountable. I think we should, but I think the accountability starts with your child first. And so, and that actually leads into my next question. At least to my next question. What up? Deuce dad in the building. What up, Ralph? Hey man. Hey Ralph, I meant to tell you too, bro. This is working like a charm, bro. I love this, man. I found a way to use it. So this leads into my next point that I want to hit on. So if you got questions about that, comments, then let's talk about it. Because I'm pretty sure if it's in your mind, right, it's probably in someone else's mind. So you're not just only speaking up for you, but you're speaking up for someone else that may not have the courage to ask the question. So ask the question. So let's talk about this. Playing in the wrong position. Playing in the wrong position can definitely affect your recruiting. Playing in the wrong position can affect your recruiting. And I think that these other two, this next point that I'm gonna hit on, overall player assessment, is going to kind of come play. Let's try to stay with this. Playing in the wrong position. Playing in the wrong position. Now, this applied to, any sport, but I have more experience with football and basketball, of course. Yes, sir. Your token definitely did not go unnoticed, and I'm putting it to use, my friend. And thank you for your service too. I appreciate that. Shout out to all the veterans, man. Shout out to all the veterans. We appreciate your services. Without you guys, we would not have the peace of mind, to be able to, to go to sleep at night and things like that without being invaded. Our country being invaded is because of you guys doing what you've done, you do, and doing what you've done in the past. Just because you're not in it now, that doesn't mean that you still doesn't have an impact. Because I'm pretty sure that that you might be a mentor to somebody else. But so let's playing in the wrong position. So now I had a personal experience with this. So I have, if you will, for lack of a better word, I have license to speak on this, right? And actually, I have a license to talk about this channel, to start this, this topic, these topics that I'm hitting on this channel, because I'm going through it. I've been through it. So, but playing in the wrong position can definitely affect your child's recruiting. Even if they're having some level of success, it can definitely affect their recruiting. It can definitely affect their recruiting. And I didn't know this, right? I didn't know this until I started actually going through the process. So, of course, I'll give you an example. Let's see. Specifically, I'll talk about Myron. Myron, of course, he was a quarterback, right? He was a quarterback at Little League. And so, I mean, he had an arm, and and he was very athletic. And so, so it would be fitting at that level to put him at quarterback. But then when he got to high school, he played, JV as a freshman, and he was playing the quarterback position. It's looking pretty good, learning how to read, right? Learn how to read the defenses, making passes and things like that. And if nothing was there, he could make a play, so he make a play with his legs. But I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't realize that he was in the wrong position until he got to varsity. He got to varsity, and things got a little bit more complicated. And in 7-on-7, he didn't do really well in 7-on-7. And so I noticed, right now, do I think that he could have had success at that position? Absolutely. I think he eventually would have adapted and had some level of success. But is it smart? Well, is it smart to leave him in that position? Is it smart to fight for him to be in that position? And I determined that it wasn't. Number one, I never. Here's the thing. Whenever I trained my kids, I've just so everybody know, I put in a lot of work with my kids, behind things. I know that, some coaches have coached them and things like that, and that's great, and I believe that they had some level of influence. Shout out to Kevin Whitman in particular, who actually lit the fire for football for my boys, because I was not a football guy. And, and he noticed that he was the first guy that actually really noticed their talent and really, took them under his wing. And, but so, so I got to give him a shout out where it all started. But my kids have had, wonderful coaches, speaking on head coaches, because I'll be calling everybody's name. But, Ron Scott, excellent coach, Scott Merchant, Andy, the whole coaching staff at Chip is just awesome, so, but yeah, and, even, at the Madison Heights Wolverines, Joe Williams, he's been my guy, he put a lot of, he put a lot into me about football and helped me learn the game. Cause I like I said, I wouldn't even watch football, but now, I know it a little bit, and I know a little something. So, but, when I trained my kids, I never trained them to be one-dimensional. Never, ever. I never trained them to be one-dimensional in basketball or football. Never trained them when they play baseball. I mean, baseball, they weren't serious about that, but, they were doing a lot of things there too. But just specifically basketball and football, I never trained them to be one-dimensional. I think that's one of the major mistakes that we make as parents, is we train our children to be one-dimensional. And then what you're doing is that you have placed a limit on them, right? I know, we heard that before. Don't put a limit on God, right? Well, don't put a limit on your child. You put a limit on your child by limiting them to one position. And that's terrible. And then we fight for these positions, and we fight coaches for these positions and things like that, right? But we make our children one dimensional, and that's the wrong thing that's the wrong thing. That's one of the major mistakes that we do as parents. And I think that once that changes, I think that's going to open up Pandora's box. But a lot of times that we make a major mistake as parents is making and coaches sometimes too, but we make the child one dimensional when they are capable of doing other things. And so, and one of the things too, I think that's one of the key elements of coaching too, is when you see a player's ability, your job is to get the maximum potential, get the maximum performance out of that player, or else you're not getting the full benefits of having this player on your team. And so, and so those are the things that, that I was thinking about. And once again, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and share the information. Actually go in. And if you are, I noticed that for some reason, I know that I'm streaming on Facebook, but if you are leaving comments on Facebook, I can't, for some reason, they come in late or I can't see them. So I'm only able to see my comments from YouTube. So you have to go to my YouTube channel and comment, because I want to see your comments. And when I go to Facebook after the fact and I see the comments, I get a little bit upset about that. But I want to interact with you while I'm live. So make sure that you go directly to the YouTube channel and comment. And so yeah, I never make them one-dimensional. That's one of the things that we as parents we do. We make our players, our kids one-dimensional. And so what ended up happening is that and in some cases the position that we want them to play is not the best position for them, and it's not the best position for them to be recruited. So continuing with the story with my son Myron. So I've noticed that, one of the things I try to do is I try to keep an open mind. I try to keep the emotions out of it. I try to keep the fact that, hey, like, yeah, this is my kid, but I try to keep those feelings in check when I'm actually thinking about things. And so when he came home and he told me, now mind you, the coach didn't tell me at all that before he actually did it, he didn't tell me that that he was changing his position. But he started talking to Myron about it, and Myron came home and was talking to me about it. And I could tell he had mixed emotions because he wanted to be a quarterback and he worked so hard to do that. And I started, at first I was like, oh, I don't know about, and then I started thinking about it. And I'm like, well, to be a quarterback, typically what they're looking for tall, guys that can see over the line in the quarterback position. Yeah. They got smaller quarterbacks now, they're letting them in the door, because they're mobile with their legs and things like that. But the truth be told, once they start getting hit, once they start getting them hits laid on them, they're not really going to last that long, which is why Tom Brady is able to do what he do, is because he don't get hit much. Those old guys that are quarterback is like the longest position in football, the longevity of it. So, yeah, but Myron, I just knew that, once I started thinking about things, and then I saw his confidence, it was going down the drain when he was having struggles with 7-on-7. Sometimes to get a kid to realize, like, hey, either I'm ready or I'm not, sometimes you just got to throw them in there and they have to see it for themselves. So I think ultimately that he could have, with more coaching, if they had the time to put into him, and if it was a situation where he was the only guy, then of course. But at this program, it was multiple quarterbacks, and so they didn't have that time to waste, and they're trying to put together a winning situation. And he noticed that my son's running ability in practice and how athletic he was, because when he was on JV, if the play broke down, what did he do? He tucked it and run, and he tucked and run. And he tucked it and ran. And so he saw his ability, and he noticed that he had running back instincts. And so he was just like, I think you'll be a great running back, man. And he told him that. And after he talked to him, the coach called me and told me what, they talked about. And, I said, Coach, hey, listen, I trust you. I trust you. I trust what you're doing. Do your thing, and if it was something that I needed to be alarmed about, I would have spoke up. But I knew that running back was his original position because when he was, in Little League, he played running back initially before he became a quarterback. So I knew that, if I was just happy that he still have, a good position that allows him to actually still be on the field and that he was able to do that. Now, if I had to be one dimensional, guess what? It wouldn't have none of that would have mattered because guess what? We still would have been fighting for him to be at that quarterback. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and share. Once again, if you're leaving comments on the Facebook feed, I can't see. So you have to go to my YouTube to leave those comments. But yeah. And so it ended up working out for him. And plus too, that position probably would have been more difficult. I know for a fact for him to get recruited in because quarterbacks, it's hard to get recruited in that position. And I'm noticing that I've seen some great quarterbacks just at Chippewa alone, but it's hard for them to get offers, right? Great, wonderful grades, great size, nice arms, things like that. And you would think that the offers will be falling at their feet, but it just don't work like that. And offense, I'm noticing too, like offense in Michigan, like it's kind of hard for guys to get those big time, D1 offers for some reason. But for offense, for defense is different. But yeah, so I'm glad that we made that decision. I'm glad that, that we agreed with it and, and we supported the coach with that. And it was a situation where he grew to love. And then he ultimately came out with it was like that. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that I'm actually back in my position, because truth be told, there's a lot of pressure in that position and things like that. And I wasn't just comfortable. I like to be comfortable. And I was just like, cool. Right. And so, so I think that ultimately, so if we would allow that to happen and continue to fight for that, position for him, who knows what would have happened. But a lot of times this happens, right? And sometimes we fight for those positions and our kids are able to play in those. And sometimes they're not able to play in them. And we still push for them to have those positions, what ultimately is going to affect their career. Because if they're not thriving in that position, then coaches they're going to get overlooked. They're not going to get the looks from college coaches to get recruited. So you want to put them in a position where they can succeed and where they can catch the eye of college coaches, right? So how do you know? The question is, how do you know if the position that your kid is in, if that's the right position for your kid? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's actually my next topic that we're going to talk about, right? So about the overall player assessment. Us as parents, thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. I feel it was good to actually play, one like if you guys want to leave comments, you got to leave it on the YouTube feed. I can on Facebook. You need to make so the last point I want to hit. This goes for players, coaches, and parents, man. But we're gonna talk about this, and then we're gonna take it out, and we're gonna be done. If you got questions, though, let me know. So the overall player assessment, I think us as parents, we make another mistake by not properly assessing our kid, and the coaches make the mistake too doing that, and so does a player. Why do you say that as a player? Now, how can they assess themselves? They can't. Especially because they are doing anything. I'm telling you that. So that means on some level of assessment. So, but it's up to us as parents those assessments to sift through our children's assessments and their perceptions of things, and to see if we're allowed them to stick, or if we can or if we should turn their focus a little bit because how they're thinking is not right and they're not assessing themselves right. But us as parents, we can't do that if we don't know how to. So I think that this is a key thing that we need to learn how to assess our kid. So for an example, how can you assess your kid to make sure that they're in the right position? Well, do you have to know about sports and things like that? Well, not necessarily to do a basic assessment. Now, if you want an in-depth assessment, then you would definitely have to know a little, know about the sport, but also too, there's ways around that. You could, get with somebody that does, and that's in the know, and you can actually get them to give you their honest assessment, or you could do your own research and learn, and then begin to do the assessment. And hopefully when you walk away tonight, you'll have the basics to be able to start looking at your kid and assessing them. First of all, in order to have a proper assessment, you have to get out of your head that this is my kid, period. Secondly, because the reason why is because you become emotionally attached and emotions get involved, and then you say things that's in the benefit of the kid, to save their pride, right? As opposing to being honest with them, in a sense. And so, secondly, you gotta be honest, have a realistic approach, be very transparent. And sometimes when you're transparent and real honest, it hurts. And, my relationship with my kids, and, I try to, I tell them, you can be honest, even if it hurts me, let's just talk about it. I rather, we talk about it. My daughter and we just had a conversation because she was talking about, she was serious about basketball, things like that. But her actions was showing me different. And so, but we had a conversation, and she, broke down, and I noticed that I was just like, be honest, just tell me, even if you think it's going to hurt my feelings, just tell me. So I think it goes both ways. You got to be honest, right? And you got to look, and when they are competing, you got to put them in the right position. So number one, you got to be able to assess them early to be able to see what they have. You can do this, and I actually talked about this on my channel in the video, but you can do this at the youth level, basketball or football. You can see it. You can see if a kid has what it takes at a young age. You can see if they're going to be a dog at a young age. You can see it. How can you see it? Well, if they are constantly dominating, I talked about this on my video before. If they're constantly dominating at the youth level, right? Then you know that your child got a good shot. Now, watch this. Now, the youth level, the competition varies. Sometimes there's a good wave of competition, and then sometimes, there's not a good wave of competition. So you got to be careful with that. Because, a lot of times in certain organizations and certain youth events, recreational events, there's not a lot of competition, especially those that are outside of the city, right? Those that are outside of the city, normal, in some cases, they're not that competitive. And I'm just being honest for what I observed. But sometimes outside of the city too, you run into some powerhouse teams. For an example, and I'm gonna have some youth coaches, recreational sports coaches on too, hopefully soon. But I think it's important because in youth sports, it's crazy. So like for my kid, my kids played in the ONYFA. Now, over the years, the competition of the ONYFA has definitely, it died down a little bit because that's how competition is. That's how talent is. There'll be a nice big wave of talent, and then all of a sudden it'll start leveling out, and then it'll pick up again. Just like every high school. At every high school, there'll be a nice wave of talent, and then they'll have a nice streak of winning, and then it goes down, and then you have the building time, the building moment, and then they build back up, and then the wave of talent comes again. Unless and so but with the ONYFA, the football league, which is the football league that they learned in and grew in, man, when they were playing, it was some nice talent, right? We were playing teams like Romeo, right? Who had a powerhouse, the Shelby Lions, and who had always had powerhouse teams. I mean, the game would be over. The game would be over in first quarter. They already have you mercied. The game is over, right? And so with Romeo, I'm talking about powerhouse teams, right? And there were more of them. It was more, but some of them are slipping my mind right now. But it was some good. It was a nice wave of talent, and in fact, that actually helped them at the next level because we ended up playing, in our league. Romeo is actually in our league, and so at high school, And all those kids that were playing in that league played at high school. And Romeo is, matter of fact, they made it to the second round now, and they'll be playing tomorrow. So, it has its perks. But I said that to say you got to be careful when you're assessing, because if the talent is not where it needs to be, then it's hard to assess if your kid is really a dog at a young age or not. So what you do is that if you notice that there are kids just like yours, right, that are dominating too, right, that are dominating constantly and things like that, that's how you know if the talent is good and competition is good in the league, is if there are kids that are like yours that they're playing against, right? And if that's the case, then that means that there is some level of competition. So you can actually use that as a gauge, but keep a close eye on it, because from year to year, season after season, that your kid will change either for the good or for the worse. So you got to watch out for that. Now, another thing that needs to happen too now is that if they're in a position and they're not meeting the requirements of that position, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble, right? You're in trouble. If they're in the position and they're not meeting the requirements of that position, then that's a good indicator. Well, why do you say that? Is because, like, a lot of times we allow our kids to play positions, and the requirements of there are requirements for every position that is played in sports. For an example, like if you want to be a point guard, you got to have what? You got to have some handles. You got to be able to handle the basketball. You got to be able to, distribute the basketball. You got to be able to break people down, drive. You got to be able to recognize defenses and things like that, right? But you can't be a point guard if you can't dribble the basketball, right? If you're a good shooter, but your handles are suspect, you can be a shooting guard. But at some point, you're still gonna have to handle the basketball. But they're required. But it's not really that high of a demand to have the handle of a point guard, because the point guard always handling the basketball a large percentage of the time. And that's what happens. And, even with football, like, if your kid is playing a position that requires speed, right? So, for instance, when NFL combines, college, high school, college camps, when you take your kids to these camps, they set up the combines just like it is in the NFL. They have these workstations and they have the requirements of the position for the speed. So if your kid is playing a defensive back position, safety position, or something like that, or a running back position, there are speed requirements. Whether it be you're running a great time, 4.3 or 4.5, or what have you, whatever. But there is a requirement for that. And if your kid is not even close to that, then why in God's name are you having them at that position? Why are you allowing that to happen? Right? And if the coach is not saying anything, shame on you, coach. Right? So unless, I wouldn't waste a lot of times too, us as coaches, a lot of times too, we can actually see if a kid has a future at this or not. And if they don't have a future at this, but that you could tell they just want to be a part, then okay, that's different. Then you don't have to say anything about that. But if they literally expressing like, coach, I really want this, then we need to have a talk. But there is a requirement for every position. And if your kid is not hitting those requirements, then, and if they're not even showing that they'll be able to hit them in a couple of years or what have you, then I suggest that you start, looking at that situation and start really thinking about what other positions can my kid be good at. All right. Because if you don't change that, you're setting them up for failure in regards to recruiting. You really are. Another thing that as players should be able to assess themselves. I remember having these conversations with my kids. Like, you should be able to go into an organization, be a part of an organization, and start looking at what you have around you, right? What talent you're up against, right? Who you got to beat out for a position, and ask yourself, am I better than him? Am I better than this person? Like, what does he have that I don't have? You should be able to look, a real baller should be able to look and be like, oh yeah, I'm not, in a braggadocious way, but it's okay to be confident and know that, hey, I'm the best player, and still keep it a level of humility behind you. That's okay. But it's good. I think all players should assess themselves and keep, because when they do that, then they have a realistic approach, and then they won't come home lying to their parents or making false statements to their parents. And now the parents has to side with them because emotions are involved. Now, they're not making it hard on the coach because they have that assessment in mind. I see why. Okay. Yeah, I see why you're getting more time than me. There have been times that I had to tell my kid, right? My kid come home telling me the same thing. Look, I'm not telling you guys something that I haven't done. I'm not telling you guys that I'm not telling you something that I haven't lived. My sons have came home like, I'm not getting the playing time that I want, right? I think I should be getting more time. I really do. Why? And so here I go. Okay, because I love these conversations. Well, why? Tell me why you think you should be getting more time, right? And we have a conversation, and then I give them my perspective. Why? Because I was a sports guy. I played the game. Maybe not football, but I know about it, and I know what should happen, and I've done enough research, right? And so I give my opinion. I say, well, here's why I think that you're not getting the attention. Because as a parent, if I'm not saying anything about it, I don't think you should be. And the reason why is because as your parent, I'm not going to put you in a situation where you're going to fail. And if I notice that you're not being, I notice that it's an unfair situation, then as a parent, I got to do something. I got to do something, because it's not fair to the kid, but a lot of times, I'm not going to put my kid in a situation. I'm not going to take my kid to a school. If I got a running back, I'm not going to take my kid to a school if they don't run the ball, if their offense don't run the ball. I'm not going to take my kid to a school if a quarterback, if I got a good quarterback, I'm not going to take them to a school that don't throw. Come on now. I'm not going to take my kid to a school if he got, good basketball game, like he a dog, he can give you 30 a night on a basketball court, but I'm not going to take them to a school where a coach doesn't allow them to express themselves. I'm not going to do that. So, because that's setting them up for failure. And a lot of times that happens. And when they don't do it, we go like, oh God, they ain't doing it. Well, you knew that before you went, or maybe you didn't because you didn't do your research. So you got to do some research. But, so yeah, but as players, you should be able to look at that, and you should be able to look at that and say, yeah, but I'll give my opinion and say, hey, this is the reason why I think that you are not getting the time that you need. Here's why I think that you're not getting the attention that you want, is because you're not doing this. You're not doing that. You're not playing right. I told my kids that you're not playing up to your potential. You don't even look like the guy that I know that you can be. I know that you're that guy, but you got to prove it, right? You got to prove it. And these are conversations that I have with my kid. We got into heated conversations because they'll think that they have, a certain skill set. And I'm like, no, you're not there yet. And if you don't humble yourself and listen, you will never get there. And so you literally have to break them down, because success can sometimes equal high level pride. And what comes with high level pride is high level confidence. Can't nobody tell them nothing. You have to keep them leveled so that you can give them that honest assessment. A lot of times when my kids had success out there, whether they be on the court of the field, after the game, they'll be looking for me. And then we just talked about this the other day. My son told me, he's like, Dad, we'll be expecting you to come go crazy. Like, yeah, you had a great game. You went crazy. But I don't do that. And I do that for a reason. I tell them they had a good game. Yeah, absolutely. You had a great game. You look good out there, right? You look good out there. But I always come back with, but you could have did this better. What happened here? I oftentimes, especially when they were smaller, I don't do it now, but I used to record their games. Sometimes I look at their huddles, right? What's wrong with that? Get your kids' huddle. Why not? Get their huddle and log in and look at the plays and look at what they're doing. And if they're doing something wrong, tell them. I told Trey today, this season, Trey is very talented. But I told him this season, I said, before, leading up into the season, and I was looking at his huddle, I said, Trey, you got to stop using your head. You got to stop using your head, because you're going to injure yourself. So, and these are the type of things that I do, but I always come back with something that they can do better, because truth be told, they're not perfect. But I do that to be able to keep their head leveled. And I always tell them too, hey, stay humble. Always keep that. Because you keep that reminder, and you keeping them in the position to receive feedback. A lot of us can't have these conversations with our kids because they don't receive feedback well, and we're setting them up for failure too. Because what you're teaching them now, that's going to transfer in life. They have to be able to receive that feedback, good or bad, because that's going to help you grow. And if you can't receive that, then why are you playing this game, which that can possibly take you to the next level, which means that you're going to be on TV where you're going to be exposed for everybody's feedback, and everybody going to be saying everything about you. Just like, with the coaches situation, when everybody love it when the coaches, when the team is winning, but as soon as they start losing, it's the coach's fault. Coach. Even coaches that have coached before, whether they be youth sports, whatever, it's the coach. The coaching, I think coaches should have some type of brotherhood or something, sisterhood or something, and understand that, because it's different when you're actually in the position of the coach. It's different. And so I've learned to have that respect before I start rattling off at the mouth out of anger. Sometimes it happens, but then I pull it back and I'm like, nah, I kind of understand. But yeah, so these are the things that you have to be able to you have to be able to do, man, when your child is assessing themselves, when you're assessing your child, the coach is assessing your child, they have to have these things in mind, man. And so they have to have these things in mind. But I've done it with all of my boys. I told Miles, at one point I said, dude, Miles, you're not a running back, man. You're not a running back. You need to be in a position that allows you to use your speed, right? A position that allows you to use your speed. You need to be in space. I was like, I think you would do good at a receiver position, right? And he was like, I thought about it and started working on it. And last year, they put him at receiver. He was a good receiver, wide receiver. But the thing is that they needed him on defense, so they didn't use him a lot at that wide receiver position. Miles was probably one of the best in his class at wide receiver. He was good. And so, but I had to be honest with him and tell him, like, no, that's not gonna cut it, man. That's not gonna cut it. We had conversations in basketball. I had to be honest. It's you have to be honest with your kid. Don't spare their feelings. They're going to thank you in the long run. They're going to thank you in the long run. Ooh, that's a touchy topic for me. That is a touchy topic for me. But they're going to thank you in the long run, man. So you gotta be honest. But kids should be able to do that as well. They should be able to assess themselves. Now, when you actually get to the team, like especially at high school, now here goes the real assessment, right? Because I also wanted to say this too, because I think this is important. But when you get to high school, there's a real assessment, because if you are a part, here's how you know that you are part of a good program in high school. Outside of the coaches, if you do your research on the coaches and stuff, that's one. But how you know that your child is in a good position in a good program is if they have nice high caliber talent that are just like your kid or better. I told my boys at youth football, I was like, guys, y'all killing right now. I mean, y'all scoring 3-4 touchdowns a game, easy, right? But it's going to get harder at the next level, guys. It's not going to be this easy. You want to know why? Why? Because you're going to a bigger school, and when you have bigger school, you got more options, right? And you're gonna come up against players that are just like you, right? That are just like you. And so what's going to happen? What are you going to do? Are you going to fold because now you see that you're not the best player anymore? You don't see that you're not the only best player anymore, one of the good players? Or are you going to fold and just lay down? Or are you going to continue to try to be the best player, right? What you going to do? I had these type of conversations with them. Because and that's how you know if you're a part of a good program, because if the talent is comparable to your child's athletic ability or beyond, you know you're in a good situation. And you should want your kid to be challenged. You should want your kid to be challenged. Why? Because challenge, when your kid is challenged, reality sets in. And a reality of, do I really want this? Right? Do I really, really want this? And because if I really want this, I'm going to have to take the extra step. I'm going to have to go the extra mile to be better than the guy that's better than me now. Right? Do I really want this? And so, and then also too, it helps them for the next level, because as they progress to college, they're recruiting kids from all over the country, from D1, D2, D3, NAIA. They're recruiting kids from all over the country. And when that happens, now your variety of talent is so much bigger now. That's why it's so hard for in Michigan for guys on, offense to get scholarships. Like, go on Twitter and go on Twitter and watch how many guys you see, that got offers, D1 offers, right? For offense. I'm not saying that it don't happen. It does. But offers for Division I football in particular, I'm speaking about, I normally see defensive positions getting offered to these kids if they're in the defensive position, because it's easier to get offers on defense than it is on offense. But just watch it though. It's kind of crazy. But they're recruiting from all over the country, guys. And so that means that the talent pool is much bigger, right? If your kid ain't, if your kid don't want to go there, fine, off to the next one. They don't offer somebody anyway, so they'll offer the next kid that's like yours, that's like your kid. So, but when your kid gets to college, guess what? They won't be messed up in the mind, and they won't have that defeated mindset, because they are used to the challenge. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you're not putting your kid in that situation, once they get to a situation like that, they're gonna have a nice reality check. It's gonna have a nice reality check, and it may not be fun, but but if you can avoid that now, those are the decisions. That's what I would do, and that's one of the main reasons why I sent my children to Chippewa Valley. Actually, and before that, I was actually getting ready to send them to Cass Tech. My kids were registered at Cass Tech. I want everybody to know that. My kids were registered for the 9th grade at Cass Tech. But I changed my mind. We live really, really far. And, for that to happen, it just, a lot of things had to take place before I made a move like that. But guess what? But there were other smaller schools that were asking for my kids, asking for my boys, private schools, and regular schools that was asking for them. But I told them no, because I wanted them to play on the bigger stage, right? And also too, I wanted them to be in a bigger environment where there are people, where they arrive, that there are people that are better than them, and they're going to have to work, because that's going to tell me a lot. And that's how we ended up. That's how we ended up at Chippewa. And I'm glad that we ended up there, because when we got there, the talent was crazy. Like my son, when he got to varsity, mine was he was the third string running back, right? We weren't used to that, but he was the third string running back, Miles, he, changed his position to defense, and he, and that worked out for him, right? Because that's something that he learned to love. And now he loves that position, and it's working out perfectly for him, and it works out, and it fits his, athletic ability. And so, so those are things, man, that, I wanted to hit on. I think that, these are the things that I've experienced throughout this whole process, man. And it's getting, it's becoming more and more clear to me. I did some things a little bit different with my younger son, that I wish that I would have done with my older boys. And I'm going to share that with you guys. I'm going to do a video on that. Maybe I'll get, my younger son on here to get an interview as well. And we'll talk to him. But going back to that youth football stuff, that competitive youth football stuff, like one of the guys that was in the youth football, the ONYFA league that he was competing against for my youngest son, he's at a nice high school, but this guy got a ton of offers. I'm gonna try to get him on the show too. We're gonna talk about that. We got a ton of offers, so that competitiveness. So make sure that you guys just get that stuff, let it rotate in your mind, let it get in your mind, and let it just sit there and let it and just marinate on it and think about these things, because when we don't think about these things and hit on these points, then we really we're not doing our kids any justice. We're not doing them any justice. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I got some merch that's coming. I'm gonna do some merch. I'm gonna go ahead and do that so you guys want to be a part of the Sports Dad Club. I redid my logo for the apparel. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm posting some information about that. I'm definitely going to let you know. But we're surpassed 300 subscribers. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Make sure y'all go to the channel and subscribe and keep it going, guys. I couldn't have done it without you. Now we're trying to hit that next milestone, which is 500. Let's see, she said, green and white, CT forever. I know. And Nina, you really would have went crazy if they were there though. But my cousin went to went to Cass, God rest his soul. And we were gonna do it, but we backed out. That was a huge commitment. But that would have been perfect for them though, because once again, it would have been a good situation. But not a good situation as far as competition. But I'm glad we ended up at Chip, because it was just the same thing. Because guess what? Cass take a lot of kids from this area, from this area. They carpool kids down there, what I'm saying? So, that's what I know. We got some feuding. King is better. Oh man. KC for life. Yeah. All right, guys. I got the merch coming. I got some big, I'm trying to keep evolving the channel. Next week, I got a favorite that's, one of the, this guy has been requested. I got the offensive coordinator for Chip that's going to be with us, for Chippewa Valley, that's going to be with us next week. This guy is amazing. One of the most underrated coaches in today. And, dude is super smart. He's an absolute genius. So get the word out there. Those of you that are coaches and things like that, you want to pick his brain or whatnot. Now is the time to do it, because he will be with us next week. Let's see. And then you woke up. Look, he's cracking up. All right, guys. Hey, listen, we at the end of another close. I see we got 9 people in here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of the live session. We try to make it happen. We try to make it do what it do. But we're at the end of another close. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the information. And because I certainly enjoyed kicking it with you guys. Listen, you're not going to get it like this. You're not going to get it this raw. I'm telling you that right now. And I'm giving you the good and the bad and the ugly, just straight off of what I've been through in my experience. And it's going to get better, y'all. It's going to get better because the word is getting out. The channel is growing. So thank you so much. Remember to stay with me. All right, for sure. Next week, we on and popping. Have a great weekend. There you have it, folks. Another great recruiting session in the books. Definitely there were some huge nuggets that were dropped, and hopefully you're walking away with something tangible. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we post new information. And also, too, if you want to support the channel financially, be sure to send all donations to $SportsDad CEPH, and that's also on my YouTube platform as well. Make sure that you stay tapped in. And until next time, I'm out.